All right, so started from the beginning.
Well, my girlfriend came over to my house, and she said, "Come on, let's take a walk. It was a beautiful night, you know."
Yeah.
And I said, "No, no, I don't want to go." I said, and she said, "Oh, come on, I'm going." Then my mother said, "Go, go," you know. She was giving her noise, but she's
Yeah.
And I says, "Okay," I said. So we walked up Bleecker Street over to Genesee and had some ice cream, you know. It was just a normal night. And we were walking home. And as we were walking home, there was two soldiers walking behind us. And my girlfriend was sort of a little flirt, you know.
Yeah.
And she kept looking back, and I says, "Don't do that. Don't do that. They'll think we're cheap, you know. They were easy. Don't do that." But she wouldn't stop. Before you know it, they approached us, and they introduced themselves, you know. He says, "My name is Joe," and the other one was John. And he says, "What are you girls doing tonight?" I says, my girlfriend said, "No, nothing." And she says, "We're just going home." He says, "Could we walk you home?" And I says, "No." And she says, "Oh, why not?" She says, "What's wrong with that?" So he says, "What's wrong with it?" He says, "I'll just walk you home." He laughed, you know. And I says, "Well, all right, walk me home. Do you understand? Just walk me home."
Jeez.
And so she went with John because she lived different from where I lived.
Right.
And he walked me home. And as we were walking, we were talking about different things, and we had a lot of conversation, you know.
Yeah.
So when he got near my house, I said, "Well, good night." And he says, "Good night." He says, "Goodbye." I said, "Goodbye." And he was walking away. He said, "Oh, by the way." I says, "What?" He says, "If I wanted to see you, where can I call you, you know?"
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, we don't have a phone." I said, "We didn't." And I said, "Oh, I work at the Boston store.
Yeah.
Just ask for Mary." Now, the Boston store was enormous. So he kept asking for Mary, but they said, "Mary who?" He
Yeah.
didn't know my last name. Or where does she work? Does she work in this department or that department, you know?
Yeah.
So naturally he couldn't get in touch with me. And then one day when we were going to the movies on a Sunday with my friends and we were going home, I heard somebody call me. And it was him. And I says, "Oh my goodness." And I introduced him to my friends. And he said, "Could you come? Could we go out together? I mean, now?" I said, "Now?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "I went to your house." I said, "You did?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "You live on the third floor, don't you?" I says, "Yeah." And he said, "Yeah, I went there and knocked on the door, but then no one answered." And so my girlfriends go, "Go, go," you know. So I went with him. And we walked and we talked and we had a lot in common. A lot of it. So I went out with him a couple times. And then after he had a furlough, I don't know what a furlough is, leave from the army for a certain amount of days.
Oh, okay.
So he gave me money to hold for him to save for when he had to go see his mother, you know, Pennsylvania. So he says, "You got my money?" I said, "Yeah, I got it." And I gave it to him, you know. He made it sound like he thought I didn't have it or something, you know, and it kind of irritated me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
"And here's your money, and goodbye," you know, just like that, and I forgot about it. Then all at once, I get flowers, roses. I still got them. I pressed them.
Did you?
Yeah. And I said, and it was from him. love and all that stuff, you know. I was surprised. I was happy too, you know.
Yeah.
So when he come home, he said, I had an argument with my mother. I said, what for? He says, I told him that I met a girl here in Utica and I'm going to marry her. Oh, I said, oh, really? I said, what'd you tell your mother that for? And he says, will you marry me? And he said, and I got mad at my mother because she says that you only married me for my insurance. His mother was mad. You met some lady and you want to go out with her? Don't you realize she wants your insurance? You know? I didn't even know about the insurance, to tell you the truth.
This was back in the times.
And he says, I had a glass in my hand and I cracked it, he says, and I left. And he says, will you marry me? He told me. And I told my mama, my brother, you know, my family, crazy. He says, he's going overseas. What if he died? And what if he gets crippled? What if, you know, they give me all. I wouldn't listen to them. I said, I love him. I love him. And they says, well, all right. So we got married. So we were together we went to he wasn't supposed to leave the city, but we went to Syracuse for our honeymoon.
Oh, wow.
For 2 days because he had to get back.
Yeah.
And, well, he kept coming home. A lot of time became without permission to my mother's house. And he got caught leaving the post. So he had got punished for it, you know, how they do. And then not even a week or two, he called me and he says that I had to come up there. And I did with my girlfriend. It was pouring rain, I remember it. We lived way on Bleecker Street, you know, in East Utica.
Yeah.
And his friends were friendly. They were all around, you know. They were nice, though. They were respectful. And he kept squeezing my hand and holding my hand, you know. But he couldn't tell me. He couldn't tell me at all. So then when we left, we got caught in the rain. I got home. I got the flu. And then all of a sudden, when I called them, they said that 237, that was his regiment, had left for overseas. Ah, God, I started to cry, you know. My mother says, she says, I told you, she said, you know. And I says, so all of a sudden, I got a letter telling me that he couldn't tell me. They were going overseas. So he couldn't tell me where they're going, he says. But I'm okay, and I'll write to you as soon as I can. So after that, he kept writing all the time. And I kept writing. That's all we did was write. I mean, 2 or 3 letters a day, you know. And buying him things that he might want and sending him overseas packages, you know.
Mm.
And after two years, I worked nights to keep me busy, and I was faithful. Believe it or not, or nowadays, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And well, when he got, all of a sudden we got a phone call after 2 years the war was over. And everybody in the city was roaring and hollering and screaming in the roads, you know, everybody was happy. In fact, this one kid kissed me, and I gave him a slap in the face. I said, I'm a married woman. Don't you ever do that again. Oh, he said, we're just happy going. So, he was in New Jersey, Atlantic City, hospitalized.
What happened to him?
His legs, yeah, and something sort of like that. Not malaria. He didn't have malaria, but then when my brother brought me over there, and we got off the train, and he met me, he looked like his face was yellow.
Damn.
From taking the pills that they gave him for malaria.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so thin, how thin he was, very tired, very, you know, we're happy to see each other. I was happy to see him, and in a way I was frightened.
Because you haven't seen him for 2
because
years. Yeah.
I didn't know. I was married to somebody I didn't even know, you know. So I said, don't go, Frank. My sister-in-law and my brother brought me. Don't go yet. Stay. He says, I got to get back to work, Mary. He says, look, it's far, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so they left me. So my husband was trying to find me a place to stay because he couldn't leave the hospital. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
he brought me into this big house, Joe. It looked like something from Dracula. It was dark. It had those long, big stairs, you know.
Really?
I said, I don't want to stay here. No. I said, I'm scared. No, I don't want to stay here. So then he brought me to another house.
Whose house was it?
Huh?
Whose house was it?
Well, they had apartments in Atlantic City for people to stay, you know, rooms. You know?
That's what it was?
But that place looked like the spooks. So he took me to this other place. It had white pillars. It was a nice, looked like very nice. And it was a nice lady, and it was bright, nice room, you know, and he put me in that. And then he had to leave me, so I was alone. Now, I had never traveled. I was terrified, you know. But the next day he came and picked me up. We walked around and we talked, you know. And of course we got together naturally. And it was nice. It was nice because Atlantic City was so pretty, you know. And it was so warm and everything. We got on the boardwalk, walked that, and after a while he had to stay. They didn't, he couldn't leave until they gave him his papers to leave, you know. So
yeah.
They kept him in the hospital for a whole year.
Wow.
And
so you were there for a whole year. He
wouldn't be discharged until they said it.
Yeah.
You know. But at least they made him come out and stay with me nights, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then after one day, I went to see him at the hospital. We were in the PX. The PX is where they had their cigarettes and where they had ice cream, you know, like a...
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this was on the boardwalk. They were at Haddon Hall, the biggest hotel on the boardwalk. They made it into a hospital. So all of a sudden he couldn't go out and I had to go home alone. And there was a storm. Joe, if you had seen that, the ocean is right next by and the water was coming right over the boardwalk. You know?
Oh my God.
I had my umbrella flew right out of my hand. I was terrified.
How did you get home?
I ran. Like, and I was crying. I was terrified. You know.
Did you think you were gonna die?
Yeah. I was terrified. I was in a place I can't explain it. You know.
Yeah.
So then when we were going to be there, we ran out of money. So I said, well, I got to get a job. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a job in Woolworths. It was near Christmas. I got a job, and I worked in in the toy department, you know.
Right.
And we used to eat out at this diner. They got to know us after a while. And I got out of the house I was with, and we got into another place where it wasn't so expensive, you know.
Right.
We run out of money.
Right.
And we stayed there for over a year. And when we came home, we stayed with my mother, but then when we were arguing, my mother was getting upset. So she told my brother it's better that we find our own place.
Really?
She kicked us out. So that was my husband. He got a job at a mechanic, as a mechanic in a
Yeah.
garage.
Back then.
And we bought a house.
Where was the house?
On Cornhill. But Cornhill was beautiful then.
Yeah.
But we took all the old paper off the walls and fixed it up real nice inside. We worked like dogs, you know.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a car. It was all walk. And then he met Frank. Frank was some friend he made friends with. And they were talking of getting into business. So they got into businesses in a garage. And they, like a gas station, a garage, they fixed cars and everything. They called it Frank and Joe's. And they were making good there. I remember one night we were supposed to go out. He had one night off. They used to work until 11:30 every night, early in the morning till 11:30 at night. And all of a sudden we were going to go to the movie. We were all dressed up, Joe and I. And Frank called up and it snowed. And he had so much cars coming in with chains. They used to put chains around the tires before. And we had a good night. We made over $100.
Oh, wow.
That was a lot of money then.
How much did you used to get paid an hour?
We didn't pay. They used to get money for themselves, but it was mostly putting it in the business. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm saying how much money did you make when you worked?
When I worked,
Yeah.
you'd flip if I told you. $1 an hour.
$1 an hour?
But
That was good?
$1 was a lot then.
And what did you make a paycheck?
Well, I used to work till Saturday. I used to work. I'd bring about $50 home.
$50?
But
That was good money.
yeah. I mean, it was a fair.
Yeah.
And then Joe used to get money from the service too, you know.
Yeah.
So we'd have about $100. Well, then we came home. Like I said, they got into business, and we moved on Staben Street. And I used to be home all day with my little poochie, little doggy. And then at night I used to go to my mother's, you know, 'cause he worked till 11. And then about 9 o'clock I used to grab the bus and go over to the station and be there. And then we used to walk home. Stop by and have a hamburger and a cup of coffee, and then went home.
Mm-hmm.
And this went on for a lot of years. And then when we had our house, we didn't like tenants. They were dirty.
Mm-hmm.
We had it up to here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to my girlfriend Molly over the phone, and all of a sudden she was saying something about the people upstairs, you know, Betty. And all of a sudden a voice came over and says, "Well, what do you think you are, Molly? Yeah, who the hell you think?" I said, "What the hell? Is she on our line?" She used to be on my line, telephone, and everything we used to talk about, she used to listen in on. And she was always telling my brother that my husband was treating me bad. I don't know why she did that. My brother said, he treated you mean. That's what you're talking about. treating me mean. We're hardly ever together. He's at the station and I'm home with Maz. And we finally found out. Miles, when I come home and I told him, he says, I've had it. He says, I've had it. We're going to sell this house and we're going to get something just for us, he says. I don't want to know about tenants. So he was walking around. And he says he remembered this house from when he was in the service. He always admired it. So he came to the door where they were selling it, you know. And he asked the lady to see it. And she says, oh, you have to come with the real estate woman. She says, I can't let you. Don't you want to sell a house, lady? So if you want to sell a house, show it to me, he says. I might be interested. So she showed him. She was an older woman, too. Well, he loved it, you know. So he called me and he says, we're going to go see it. We're going to get a new house. I said, we can't afford that. It's $13,000.
$13,000?
$13,000. He says, I'm on GI Bill. He says, I'll get it. I'll get it. Don't worry about that. He says, let's go see it. So he brought Molly and her husband, because he was a carpenter, you know, to look at the house. And he says it was built good, you know, and it was good. It was good buy. So he borrowed the money. But he didn't have enough, so he borrowed from somebody he knew. He got himself 2 loans. Nortons, they used to live over here. Her boyfriend lent us money, and we got money from the bank. It came to $50 a month, with taxes and all.
Oh my God.
So we paid him up. And we, you know.
Yeah.
And we painted, he painted it, everything, you know.
Even built the laundry chute.
And he still had the gas station. After a period of time, he got tired of the gas station because he couldn't do nothing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He was tied up all the time. And he had gotten so thin because he worked so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, I'm going to sell out. And he told Frank that he was going to sell out. He sold it out. He got sold. He got his money.
Who'd he sell out to?
He got to working down to,
Do you know who he sold out to?
no, he went to work for, the army base in Rome. What is that called? Where they got the airplanes and everything. Well, then they had a BX, they had it was a big place. It was all army, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, you had to pass for that. You go there, we get our food for less. And, buy clothes, they had BX for that. And we did that for a long time. Then we bought a trailer. We went to Forceport. And first we went to Atlantic City. And then we went to another place. And we had everything in there. We had television, everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
A freezer, refrigerator. And we went camping. But then we went to Atlantic City. And a couple times. Then we had George. We brought him there.
How old
Yeah,
were you
fun.
when you had George?
I was my late 30s.
Late 30s?
38, 39, Dad. And we had a lot of good times, But then we got tired of traveling, so we went to Forceport and parked ourselves where Palazzo's were. And we made friends there, and we camped out all summer.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun, We had a good life together. We had children. We did things together. We never got tired of each other, you know what I'm saying? We always had something to talk